Hey guys, my name is Attorney Walter Hnot. These are the 5 bad questions that usually claimants will ask the disability attorney. I want to go through them just so you have an understanding as to what not to ask. Please keep in mind, please like, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews. I really like 5-star reviews. If you want to help me out, that's how you can help me out. Also, every Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I go live on YouTube for 2 hours to just donate my time and answer questions for anybody that calls in. So with that said, here are, and I don't do whole big intros, here are the top 5 bad questions that I always come across that I want to let you know they're not good. All right, number 1, on the first phone call that I have with the claimant, they always ask me, what do you think my chances are? What do you think's going on? Do you think I got a chance to win this thing, right? Hey, here we go. And the thing is this, and everybody always asks me these questions, and these are all questions that just come out of fear that the person is not going to be found disabled, that they're not the disabled person that they think they are in the eyes of the SSA. Just keep in mind, like, the first thing is, we haven't seen your medical evidence. We don't know if you're a fibber. We don't know if you're full of BS. We don't know, like, what you're telling us is true. We haven't seen your medical evidence. We don't know if you're a hardcore drug addict, and that's going to make it tough to win the claim, a super lush, and you're drinking all the time. We just don't know. Like, when people ask me, what do you think the chances are? I tell them now, I'm just like, look, it takes too much time to explain. There's all these different categories or types of approval, blah, blah, blah. So I just give them a quick, here's your education level, here's your age, here's your type of impairment. Are you doing these things that usually win those types of claims? And usually they're not. Usually they make statements on the record that makes it tough to win the claim and then have to go back and fix them. But the point is, we don't know right up front. One of the most useless questions you can ask is, what do you think on the first phone call? Like 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, when we have access to your system, 2 months, 3 months into it, when we have a bunch of your medical records, that's when we're going to know how likely this claim is to be found disabled. That's when it's an appropriate time to really ask that question. Now, a lot of attorneys will go ahead and respond, well, I wouldn't have taken your claim unless we thought we could win it. That's a cop-out. And the reason why is it's not really answering the question. It's just laying the expectation of the attorney to know whether or not it's a good claim. It's just laying that on the line and saying, my reputation is great, and therefore you should trust my expectation that this will go through. That's, in my opinion, a cop-out. I get why they do it. It's because we're sick of hearing that question. What do you think my chances are of being found disabled? Right? That's a terrible question. Another thing that attorneys will say, we think it's a strong claim and that you have a high likelihood of being found disabled. That's another cop-out. It doesn't explain why it's a strong claim. And I'm not saying attorneys have to always know Johnny on the spot. We represent thousands and thousands of people to make this law firm work, because we have to. In order to pay for the employees, we have to have so many wins per month. So the bottom line is, when we look at this thing, when they say, well, we think it's a strong claim, right? And that you have a high likelihood of being found disabled. That's really just more directly answering the prior question, which is, we wouldn't have taken unless we thought we could win it. And so the reality of it is that we're saying to you, just let us worry about it. You don't worry about it. But the reality is, you need to worry about it. If you're not worried about your disability claim being approved and you're not communicating with your attorney and trying to get this thing through, then you're not doing your job, buddy. All right, number 3, or letter C. We feel that the SSA is really listening right now to compassionate suggestions. All right, so this is still part of 1. This is like another thing attorneys will say. We feel that the SSA is really listening right now to compassionate suggestions. I had a California attorney tell a claimant that California attorneys are just different. They're special. They're special in many ways, but they're special. They're unique. Imagine a claimant saying to you, my life is riding on your words. My life is coming to an end. I don't have enough money. I'm very scared. Do you think I have a chance of being found disabled? And then the California attorney responds, we feel that the SSA is really listening right now to compassionate suggestions. That's like a corporate executive summary of silk that is just useless. That's like bringing a lawn tractor to basically a quarry, and you have to somehow get all the rocks over there onto the trucks over there. It's not going to work, Another thing that's said that I think is the best answer out of all of them the most appropriate answer, but it's kind of the most, mean answer, is once we know the claim, then ask us. I think that's the most appropriate and most ethical answer, because the reality is we don't know. Right when you call us, first week, second week, we don't know. It takes a couple of months to get the records in. Otherwise, we don't know. So once we know the claim, then ask us. I think that's the most ethical approach to it. Now, number 2, right? So now we're getting on to question number 2. If we didn't have COVID, the devaluation of the dollar, massive fraud, massive retirement games going on, do you think I would have needed to hire a disability attorney to win my disability claim? So if we didn't have all this crazy stuff going on right now, do you think I would have needed a disability attorney? So the first thing I want to point out here, I wrote out a little thing here. The program was easier to get onto in the 80s, became moderate difficulty around the 90s, moderate to severe to go on to from 2000 to 2010, severe from 2010 to 2015, and almost extreme difficulty to get onto from 2015 forward. These are kind of like general timeline markers, but the point is 20 years ago, you may not have needed a law firm. A lot of people signed up with the classic TV firm back then, which was Bender & Bender, which isn't really in existence in the same way anymore. That firm is totally, So the point is this, the question of, would you have needed one back in the day? Well, people signed up with attorneys left and right back in the day. Attorneys existed, people hired them left and right. So yeah, maybe. And then you have the current day, which is, do I need one now? Obviously. If people go out trying to get their disability benefits now without an attorney, it's just I think you're rolling the dice. And the dice are not weighted in your favor. That's for sure. Part B of this is, either way, you need one now. So when you ask that question, have you really gained anything? Let's say the attorney answered it, yes, you need an attorney back in the day, yes, you need an attorney now. Let's say the attorney answered it, no, you didn't need an attorney back in the day, yes, you need one now. Let's say the attorney answered it, maybe, who knows, right? All of those equate to the same ending point, which is you're still hiring an attorney right now because you need one right now. So it's a terrible question to ask. It's okay if you ask it, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no wrong questions. That's the way I look at it now. Like some people, when they see me on the live, they get pissed off during the comments section of like, get to the next caller. It's a learning thing. And I'll be straight up with you guys. The most inefficient, total and complete destruction of time to work product that could be created. The thing that really is just a waste of time for the firm is communicating to clients about things that they don't know about. That is the biggest waste of time with a law firm, having to tell clients the same thing to get them up to speed on the most basic things. That is the biggest waste of time. And my firm deals with it. Every firm deals with it. Well, some firms never call people back. They don't deal with it. But my firm always calls people back. Huge waste of time trying to educate the claimant. But that's why it's so important for the hearing, dealing with medical experts, etc. But answering questions like these, huge waste of time. Because usually the answer is already answered in the question. Like this one, I'll read it to you again. Would I have needed an attorney back in the day like I need now if it wasn't for all these, crises, COVID, devaluation of the dollar, yada, yada? Who cares? You're getting one right now. Who cares? Like COVID isn't just going to magically go away, just like the devaluation of the dollar, just like the war in Europe, etc. So because of that, the question's moot. Okay, that's the reality of it. Like, think about it this way. If I were, your attorney working on the claim and I was typing on the computer to write an opening statement or talk to a judge or write a memorandum, whatever. If I were doing those things, I was creating work product. I was pushing the claim forward. But if I'm on the phone with you answering questions like these, I'm just wasting the firm's time and I'm wasting the time I should be working on your claim to win it. That's the reality. I guess that's part of the reason why I'm making this too. It's just the biggest waste of time with the firm answering questions like these. And it's frustrating too, because I had that one twice this week. So to me, that was like boggling because this question shouldn't even exist. And that's that again, one more time, still ask them. If you feel like you need to ask, if you feel, that's okay. Like with the live session, there's no wrong questions. Everything's a learning experience. But I'm doing this video to show you why this is not a good question. Number 3, what is your approval ratings? We covered that in another video. Approval ratings are useless. An attorney that only takes the absolute certain claims gets 100% approval rating. You would think that's the best one to hire. It's not. That's usually the almost retired or about to retire disability attorney, or the person who just does this on the side who will only take the surefire ones. That's not what you want. You want the attorney that's living and breathing the system, that takes on the middle toughies, the okay claims, the very good claims, and the classic no matter what you're going to win them claims. You want the attorney that knows how to do these. Because when something goes wrong in your claim, you're going to want to have the attorney that has the experience in the toughies. And if they're taking on toughy claims and all these other claims, they're making a lot more money, because instead of just taking these, they're taking these, and albeit, even though they don't win all of these, they still win a chunk on top of this chunk. So it's smarter for the attorney to take more. All right, let's get to the next one. All right, so that was number 3. All right, number 4. What are the judges' hobby? Ooh, yeah. All right. So here's the thing. I get this from some of the more savvy players in the disability application process. These are people that usually come out of Los Angeles, Miami, New York City. These are people who know how to play the game a little bit better. What are the judges' hobbies? So first off, we do usually know what that disability judge is into. We usually know a little bit of history about that disability judge beyond what's available online, because we interact with them all the time. We usually know, things about their family or stuff like that. And the reality is basically this, and this is crucial for you to understand it, okay? You trying to create testimony at the hearing by talking about a hobby that the judge potentially likes to create favor towards you almost always backfires. I've only seen it work once. In the favor for like a, sports related hobby. Let me explain to you why. Judges and attorneys are analytical creatures. We are not usually the best at playing that hobby, like the sport, or whatever. We're not usually the best at physically doing it, but we're usually highly educated in all the different variant forms of how it's done. We know the rule books, we know all the little things about it. You are going to focus on in your testimony all the things that the judge is not into. And then the judge is going to turn around into, well, why do you do so much about this? Why do you know so much about this? Whether it's golf or boating or shooting or whatever. Whether it's some sport that you think that you can grasp, and I mean, heaven forbid you don't actually have a background in it. If you don't have a background in it, that judge is going to spot you from a mile away, because there's no way that you're going to have the knowledge and experience of being able to talk about it with the judge unless you actually do it. But just remember, the case in point of this thing is that they're not always focused on the same things you are focused on in that sport that you might talk about. You might talk about like statistics of particular players and things like that. You might think that they're going to be into that. They potentially might be, but they could also be into the structure, the practice, the play, etc. of it. Now, there are a lot of attorneys and judges who memorize statistics. They play the fantasy football stuff, yada, yada, yada. Very true. But remember, if you're showing your capacity to follow fantasy football, you're showing your capacity to understand, remember, focus, concentrate, and persist consistently with being able to do a job that's in that industry, right? Why couldn't you handle being somebody who interacts with that particular genre of a hobby, right? So I've never seen people learning what the judges are into hobby-wise really working for them except for one time. And that one time, it was just magic. It was magic in the hearing. Number 5, should I not be available for anything that they want to send me to? Okay, so this is always a fine line, because attorneys have to advise the client to go ahead and go to the thing that they are set up to go to, right? They agree. Otherwise, they're basically, you know, putting this roadblock in the process of an adjudication to find the person disabled. So if you're asking the attorney, should I not be available for anything that they want to send me to, you know, there has to be a bigger discussion of why would you not be able to go to it in the first place? It can't just be, hey, I want to slow it down. What am I going to do here? It has to be, what is the purpose behind this? If you need more time to collect evidence, cool, you can submit a motion. If it's one of those things where you can't make it to their doctor, so you want to use your doctor, cool, that's allowable. But if you're purposely, intentionally trying to screw it up, trying to mess up the potential of that hearing, then that's not okay. Then that's unethical. So just assume that the attorney is going to say you have to go and do it. But there always needs to be a bigger conversation behind what is your reasoning. And if the reasoning is just, hey, I just don't want to have to do it, or hey, I think I'll be more successful if I just don't go, I don't want to have to deal with it or whatever, that's going to be very harmful to you. Because remember, all this stuff gets bagged and tagged, you know, on the you know, docket system inside the ERE. We know every time you call, they know every time you call, everything is marked in the system. There's a little ERE report. So just remember, like, you know, when they send this stuff out, you're aware, they know you're aware. If you interact with your attorney and your attorney has to submit a response and stuff like that, everything is in the system. So just be aware, if you're asking, what should I not be available for? That can be a very tricky situation where trial tactics apply, but it can't be a simple thing where it's just like, I don't want to have to do anything. It has to be a reason why. There has to be a good ethical reason why, good faith effort that you could, but you can't because, etc. All right. So those are 5 bad questions to ask an attorney. The last one's kind of a gray area one where there might be more things going on, but you know, where you could potentially have an ethical reason to not go to something. But the bottom line is, you know, keep these in mind. I hope I've given you the option A, the other side of the coin, option B, so that you can consider them when going forward. Either way, Attorney Walter Hnot, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. Please remember to like, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews, and every Thursday I go live 8 to 10 p.m. on YouTube. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.